Hello and welcome to Hybrid, powered by chinkseyMEDIA. Back again for every word from Mikel Arteta's pre-Chelsea presser. We head to Stamford Bridge on Sunday, today, to face Chelsea in the Premier League, and Mikel Arteta has been previewing our opponents in his pre-match press conference. Speaking at the Sober Realty Training Centre, Mikel has provided an injury update, looked at our London rivals and much more. Leandro Trossard's fitness. There's another test today. We have to see how he's feeling. It doesn't look much, so we still have a few hours and we'll have to see. Well, I mean, I say the same thing every week. I'm like a broken record, as is Mikel. There's always a player that's touch and go, and he'll always use the fact that there's a remaining training session to cast doubt on whether the player will be available. Who knows? But I've got an inkling that he'll start. On if he's available this weekend, there's a potential chance. Well, those four words are a whole bunch of nothing. Because what does that even mean? There's a potential chance I could be Prime Minister tomorrow. What does that even mean? What's the likelihood? On the behind closed doors friendly, it did happen. Gabriel Jesus participated, and Ethan Nwaneri as well, because he wanted some minutes. We took the opportunity. They wanted a bit of exposure to competition, and providing that was very positive. Okay, sounds good. And I'm hearing that Gabriel Jesus is super near returning to the actual matchday squad. Whether he's in there today will be telling, but I'm thinking at some point next week, considering we've got two games, one against Brentford and one against Aston Villa, so which would be December, which was what I was saying earlier on in the season, that I think he'll return in December. But one thing's for sure, he will be back imminently, weeks away, maximum probably 7 to 10 days. In the next 7 to 10 days, I expect Gabriel Jesus to have actually got onto the pitch. On Viktor Gyökeres and Kai Havertz's availability, we have another day tomorrow, so let's see how everybody is tomorrow. Well, there you go, not giving much away once again. So it looks like Gyökeres, Havertz, Jesus and Trossard are literally, back in quotation marks. I expect to see all of them touch the pitch at some point in the next 7 to 10 days. All of them get on the pitch, if not start. On the consistency that we are showing, not that they surprise me, but you have to be able to perform in the manner that they did individually throughout long periods of the game against the opponent. And that's very, very difficult to do. As I said, that's the way I felt about the players, how I feel about the players. And now it's about finding the same consistency on Sunday to go and win again. So yeah, I mean, if we can raise our game to beat Tottenham and Bayern Munich in emphatic fashion like we did, then we're going to have to maintain those levels to be able to get another win against Stamford Bridge, which I think is up there with the toughest game that we've had this season, especially because it's away from home. On Kimmich's comments after the Bayern Munich match, I think the way both teams play, the way they played against PSG was very similar. When everything becomes man-to-man, and the way they are with their fullbacks, the way that we do what we did in terms of rotation, they create a game that has very long sequences of passes. So I know what he's saying, so that's fine. It's part of the game. I think the game is provoked in the manner that both teams play, so it's very understandable. Okay, so it's interesting. He didn't want to really get into a war of words with Kimmich. I think I did see some remarks about Kimmich almost trying to say that we're playing long ball, things like that. Bayern Munich did have more of the ball. They had more passes than us, which is unusual because in most games we have more passes than the opposition. However, it's about efficiency, being clinical, and I felt in the second half it was the better team anyway. So The main thing is getting the win, and that's what we did. And if we were to meet them again later on in the competition, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a similar kind of game and result. On our record at Stamford Bridge, it's a big game, it's a big London derby. We're going to play a really good opponent, and they are in a really good moment. We know the challenge, we know the opportunity that we have as well on Sunday, so we are fully prepared for it. Okay, so he didn't directly address the fact that, if I'm not wrong, we haven't lost there in 6-7 years at Stamford Bridge. He didn't want to directly address it, don't want to antagonize the opponent, give them something to kind of rile them up. I mean, they've got enough incentive to try and win that game. One is to close the gap. Two is to beat Arsenal for the first time since, I believe, August 21, when they beat us at the Emirates with Lukaku and Reece James scoring. And also just to provide them confidence and give them like a kind of battery in their pack that, jumpstart their season and be like, we can be involved in this title race. So there's so many reasons and there's so much incentive for Chelsea to be up for this game. So we don't want to add to that. Right. On Chelsea's title credentials, I think we are all there, and they are there because they deserve to be there. What they have done in the last few years, I think the squad that they have assembled, the numbers that they have, the amount of quality, the manager and the coaching staff that they have, it makes sense that what is happening, there is a very, very positive, that what is happening there is very, very positive, and they deserve to be there. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea, you always hear young squad accompanied with their players, the mechanics of the squad, being young, being talented, precocious talents, none more so than Estevao, Cole Palmer, people like that. They've got £200 million midfielders playing next to each other in Enzo Fernandez, a World Cup winner, and Moises Caicedo. So there's obviously a good spine there with people like James, Caicedo, Enzo, Cucurella, Estevao, Cole Palmer, João Pedro. So they're building something there. They've already shown that if Chelsea are underdogs, they are at their most dangerous. So underestimate them at their peril. I learned that myself the hard way in the summer when I thought PSG were going to wreck Chelsea, and in the end Chelsea got their tactics spot on, and they in turn wrecked PSG. So they're the world champions, so they say. So it should be a tough game. Obviously last season we played them around November, I believe, so about 12 months ago, in a really good game, pulsating game, ebbed and flowed. I felt we edged it. I felt we could have won, should have won, but it ended 1-1, I think. Was it 2-2? So today I expect none other than something similar, a raucous atmosphere at Stamford Bridge. The fans will be up for it. And yeah, it's going to be an amazing game, and I'm looking forward to it, but hopefully we can get the win. Although I don't think a draw is a bad result at this stage. On making a statement win at Chelsea, those are statements that we are talking about every 3 days. After beating Spurs at home, then we have to make a statement against Bayern Munich. We've done that, and now we have to go to the next one. That's where we are. We knew the importance of the week. Not only that, but what is coming after 3 days is going to be exactly the same. Nothing is going to change, but we are super motivated for the game. I mean, this was a week where people were saying, Arsenal going to drop points, perhaps lose a game or so. Well, we've had two of those at home against Tottenham and Bayern Munich. I'm sure people would have expected us to beat Tottenham, probably thought we'd draw against Bayern and drop points against Chelsea. However, we've got those 2 wins now. We go into the Chelsea game knowing that Man City have closed the gap again to back to 4 points. So if we are to win, we increase the gap on Chelsea to 9 points. However, if we are to draw, it remains 6 between us and Chelsea. And if we are to lose, it goes down to 3. So the permutations of each result vary. And I feel like a draw or a defeat keeps Chelsea in a race. I think if we can beat them, it takes them away and it relieves only realistically Man City is our sole challengers. However, they will be 7 points behind us. On keeping a lid on expectations, we don't talk about a lid or no lid. We need to understand basically what we have to do to be better than the opponent to have the chance to win. If we are able to accomplish that, we will be able to do the same in the next game. Nothing is going to change. Okay, so Arteta is just being really focused and just tunnel vision in the fact that he doesn't want to quell any people, he doesn't want to quell expectations. He wants the players to be forthright in their assertions that, we are trying to win the league, no doubt about that, but we want to be focused on the mini steps to doing so. So winning a game that is in front of you, and once you've done that, focus on the next game. So for instance, this tough game at Chelsea, once the 90 minutes are over, we look forward to Brentford, and then after Brentford, Aston Villa, and so on and so forth. On Hincapie and Mosquera's form, they both have a really good possibility to play on Sunday. Piero has played as a left-back as well, which is another option that we have in relation to the opponent, the game, and the state that the players are in. Miles Lewis-Skelly as well is obviously a good option that we have there. Keep using everybody and make them feel that they are connected with the team. Okay, I don't think Miles Lewis-Skelly is going to start that game, but I do think he will start at some point next week, and most likely will be against Brentford. So that leaves now Hincapie, Mosquera, and Ricardo Calafiori. So in goes Calafiori at left back for me. And because Calafiori is at left back and Hincapie is a left-sided centre-back and played well against Tottenham, Hincapie has to go in there alongside Saliba, which means Mosquera, for me, will miss out and be on the bench. However, against Brentford will be an interesting one, whether he comes in at some point. On Chelsea playing down their title credentials, I don't know. That's a question for them, I think. Yep. Not trying to get drawn into anything that can give Chelsea any incentive, any extra incentive to win. Obviously, Chelsea playing down their title credentials mean they can kind of hide behind Man City and Arsenal, the pressure that both of us are under. And week by week, they can kind of, slowly edge their way towards a race. And if they don't win it, or if they lose or draw, the pressure's not going to rise because they will just say they weren't involved in it. However, if they do win this game today, then no matter what they say or what they do throughout the season, they're involved. So it's a very critical game today. On Estevao's quality, I don't want to talk individually. When you look at the players that they have, the squad that they have, the quality that they have in those forward positions, it's immense. They've done that really well. They have recruited over the years top talent, and it's not a coincidence where they are. Yeah, so similar, the theme of this whole press conference, he doesn't really want to give too much plaudits, credit, or discredit anything to do with Chelsea. He's kind of staying neutral, so he doesn't want to talk up Estevao when they've got players like Moises Caicedo, when they've got other players, when we've got players that are performing well or that are better than Chelsea players. So there's no need for him to talk up Chelsea players when we've got players that I believe, and he probably believes, are better. On the young players, relishing the pressure. I think that relies on the individual and his personality, his character, and his ability to cope with that context and the pressure that comes with it. I think it's a really positive thing. Yeah, pressure makes diamonds. If you don't have pressure, something's not right. On Declan Rice winning the Ballon d'Or, I hope so. That would mean that we have won a lot, because normally it is related to that. I think he was immense the other day. I think he's been immense since the start of the season, and he's an incredible and crucial player for us. It's the first I've heard of it, actually. I've heard it over the last 2-3 days, and I'm not against it. As I always maintain, Declan Rice is my favourite Arsenal player, and I believe he is the best midfielder in the world. And if Arsenal are to win the trophies that we're favourites for, that means we're winning everything. And if we do win everything, you got to look at the man at the heart of everything, the engine of the team, and that would be Declan Rice. However, I think if we were to win everything, you're going to have to now look at people like Gabriel, Timber, Saliba, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka. Any one of those can win it. But I think, yeah, it will probably place Rice as the favourite if we were to win the quadruple, which is interesting. On Gabriel's fitness, not yet. I think he's evolving really, really well. We have to wait for that scan a little bit longer to be more precise in terms of the timings. But I'm quite confident, especially the way Gabby takes every injury and the way he's going to push everybody, that it's not going to be that long. Okay. But then what does not long mean? Does it mean we need to be more specific whether not long means before January, December, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? It's not giving us much. And on if he'll be back before the end of 2025. Okay, it's almost like the reporter heard what I said. I don't know. We have to wait and see. Okay, a whole bunch of nothing. On if Gabriel Jesus is ready for first team action, we have to see. He's been out 11 months, and you need that progression. You need to see how his body reacts and what else he needs. The players that we have available as well, it has to make sense to have the right balance in the squad. So it's a good thing he's ready. Very close at the moment. Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing, like I said already, I've been hearing Gabriel Jesus has travelled with the squad. Whether he makes the matchday squad or not, I'll be surprised if he does. But if he does, I'll be pleasantly surprised. On Mikel Merino's evolution as a striker, we learnt that last season because that's when we have to play long periods without a 9. He brings other things to the table, his intelligence, the way he competes, the way he masters a lot of things that are crucial for us. In any player, he's got them, and he's a real threat. The other night, he could have scored 2 goals. He was involved in many positive actions, and his work rate was unbelievable. It's actually a good point regarding Mikel Merino, because I think depending on Gyökeres' fitness, I think will determine how long or if Merino does start as a centre forward, because we do have a few options. We can go Martinelli or Trossard as a centre forward, and there's also Havertz and Gyökeres that look like they're going to be involved today in some capacity. So it should be interesting, but I do think Merino will start up front. On if a player's record visa club is a factor in picking his team, not necessarily. I think we look at more of the state of the player in the moment. What happened 6 months ago is not that relevant. There are experiences, there are connections within the team that, in my opinion, are more important than that. I'm very happy with what Gabriel Martinelli did the other night. He was superb. And you know what? I've got an inkling that Martinelli will start. I know that Noni is going up against his former club, but obviously he can come on as a substitute, and he's just come back from injury. Martinelli's been very good for a long time. He was actually threatening to get back in the starting lineup just before the international break, but he got injured. So I actually do think he will start, especially with a question mark over Trossard. But it'll be interesting because I think it's a straight shootout between Martinelli. Well, let's include Trossard in that. I think it's a straight shootout between Martinelli, Madueke and Trossard. But I think of the three, if Trossard's a little doubt, then I think Martinelli's the most likely to come in. On Gyökeres and Havertz repeat scans, they are getting closer and closer. We are very positive with both of them, so let's see. You know, it'll be funny if every press conference for the next few weeks, Arteta always says, oh yeah, Gyökeres is getting closer, Havertz is getting closer. Then the next press conference, they're getting closer, and the next one, they're getting close. So you can get closer and closer, but then there's no. It's all well and good getting closer, but if you're not actually ready, then you will forever be closer, infinitely closer. On if Gyökeres will come straight into the first team lineup. Well, the good thing is that now we have found another option. We have 3 different options. That's a really good learning. That's really good learning for all of us, especially to me. to understand that with other players, with other connections, with other ways of doing things, we can still be very, very efficient. Yeah, I don't think Gyökeres will come straight into the starting lineup. I think we will start with Merino and Gyökeres will come on and feature. That is my prediction. I don't think Havertz will necessarily come on and feature, but I also don't think Arteta will have too many players that are just back from injury on the bench. For instance, I don't think Madueke, Gyökeres, Havertz and Jesus will all be on the bench. I think it's probably 2 from 4. On if it leaves him a point to prove when he returns, I think it's very positive. We lost a player, 2 or 3. We lost at some point 6 players in the front line, and the team continued to win and be very, very efficient. So I think that's very positive. And now what we have to prove is, okay, once we have everybody back, we are going to still be as good or hopefully better. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he rotates, especially how he rotates players like Saka, who invariably plays every minute of every game. But because Madueke is a different type of player, a different type of problem, poses a different type of problem to the left back, it will be good to now be able to swap them over, because I don't like Madueke on the left, but on the right, he's very, very frightening. He's a threat. On what Jesus needs to do to be ready, it's what we see every single day, how he's reacting to the change that he's had in load. And then he needs to get into the chemistry of the team, understanding the things on match time, which are very different to anything that he tried to replicate in training. And those gaps, try to make them as short as possible. Yeah, I think Jesus has a crucial role to play, because he can play, I think of all the players we have, he is the one that can play in literally all 3 attacking positions effectively. Most of them can play in 1 or 2, but not effectively. So for instance, Martinelli can play as a centre forward and on the left. On the right, he can do a job. Saka, for me, can play on the right, obviously, and on the left, I think he can do a job there, half decent. Obviously, he can't play down the middle. And then Havertz, I think, can play as a centre forward and slightly deeper in midfield. So Jesus can play on the right, on the left and up front, and I don't think there's a drop off. So that's why I think he has a role to play for sure. On Gabriel Jesus, building connections. Yes, well, it's always been one of Gabi's qualities, the capacity to relate and connect and make other players around him better. And he still has that. And now he needs to find a way to do it with, as you mentioned, some very new players. Yeah, I mean, Gabriel Jesus is an infectious player. He's one of those players that can adapt to different situations. He can kind of adapt to different types of players, like his link-up play is one of his best facets. So I'm sure it wouldn't take him long at all to be able to link up with people like Gyökeres. He's already got a relationship with Saka, Martinelli. So I'm really looking forward to him returning. But I just don't think today is that game for it, unless he was to be given some minutes towards the end of the game in preparation for Brentford and Aston Villa next week, in which I think he can get potentially 20 minutes or more. On the mental boost a big win provides, it brings certainty, security and really positive energy every time you beat top opponents. When we did it in a derby, it helped to generate that momentum and that belief for the next game. We did it against Bayern, and now we have to carry that against Chelsea, but it's just in the moment for the next day, and we have to use it in the right way. Exactly, and which is why I felt it was imperative that Mikel Arteta didn't make too many changes against Bayern Munich, because momentum is the key. So the fact that we went strong against Tottenham, got an emphatic win, meant that we wanted to build on it against Bayern Munich and went into that game with confidence. We've obviously now made minimal changes against Bayern Munich, and now we go into the Chelsea game with a double dose of confidence. So we need to, for me, play a similar team to the one against Tottenham, and if we do and we're on song, we'll be happy come the end of the game.